it's like this. There are two types. There's two types of prayer. There's formal prayer, and there's informal prayer. Formal prayer is the prayer of the prayer book, and informal prayer is the prayer that anyone makes from the heart. Informal prayer is your relationship with God. Formal prayer has, we'll discuss that in greater detail, what that's all about. It's certainly a vehicle to connect with God, but the main connection with God is going to be on a personal level. Just like if you've ever met someone who lacked social skills, and you could tell they were kind of going off a textbook way of relating, and you see that it got rid of connection. Then you'll meet someone else who's a very natural socially, and they just you have an instant rapport with them. So real relationship happens without textbooks, and that's the informal prayer. And ideally, you should be doing both. You should talk to God in your own language, and if you're Jewish at least, you should be fulfilling the prescription. If you're a Jewish male, you should be fulfilling the prescription of the rabbis who were called the Men of the Great Assembly, who were 120 sages, who wrote the prayer book as we know it today. We got any of those around here today? So these 120 sages wrote this book, and it is, and that's what we do when we do our, for example, our 3 times a day, the morning service, the afternoon, the evening service, we do this formal prayer book. One of the reasons why informal prayer is so important is because it also leads to feeling of connection with God, which is the purpose of creation, is to connect with God, while the formal has to do with alignment with God. Connection versus alignment, okay? So the formal prayers are all set up ultimately for you to align yourself with God, but more align for the Jewish nation kind of to be in alignment with God and to have God's priorities for creation to be aligned. Okay? There are the letters that are used in the prayers are very strict in what they are. The numerical values of every paragraph are measured, and every word counts for something. It is a prescription for certain things to take place and to fall into place, like the variables are falling into place when you're saying these formal prayers. It's all about alignment that we're doing here. Whereas when someone's just talking to God in their own language, so they're connecting to God. Now, when it comes to having a patent on relationship with God, i.e. connection with God, so the Jews don't have that. We don't have a patent on relating to God. Anyone who opens their mouth in prayer to God has a relationship with God. We cannot monopolize relationship with God. However, when it comes to alignment with God, well, we have the Torah. So the 613 commandments are 613 ways to align. Positive commandments are things you do to align, and negative commandments are ways of getting out of the way, meaning it's something I avoid to make sure I'm not messing up the alignment. But it's all about alignment. When I'm saying the prayers at the right times, there's an alignment happening. Today, you had to say Shema by 8, I forget what it was. Shema had to be said by 8:56 or something like that. Is that about right? The latest time was 8:56. If I say my prayers if I say Shema by 8:56, you guys know what Shema is, yeah? Whatever, it's, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. That's Shema. If I say that by 8:56, it's aligned. So I'm all aligned. Can I say those words with no connection? What do you think? Think I can say those words and fulfill my little alignment without any connection?
Technically, there could be two ways, right? If you say it but not at the cutoff time. So you say it at 8:57, but you could also say it without the emotion or the robotic, just you get up, you have your alarm for whatever, the time changes I imagine every day or every week like Shabbos.
Yeah.
So you get up a minute before your deadline and you just say it and you're done. Like you don't have any feeling towards it.
Right. Well, you see, I could say it, today the time ended, the window of saying it ended at 8:56. Now, I could say it at 8:57 with tremendous fervor, with tears in my eyes, connecting to the oneness of God. Yeah? So I'm totally in connection land, missing the alignment. Which one's better? Fulfilling the commandment with the alignment, or saying it with fervor?
Saying it with fervor.
He says, say it with fervor. What do you say? Saul?
It would seem like the alignment's more important.
The alignment, because it's our job as Jews. Like in the end, you got to do your job. If you're Jewish, you got to do your job. The whole world's counting on me. Okay, so in a way, you can say the connection is a luxury. Like the fact that I said it with connection is a luxury. The main thing is get it said. The whole world's counting on you. Every mineral, vegetable, animal, Gentile, and fellow Jew who shares your root soul, which there's 600,000 root souls of the Jew, are counting on it. Your Shema. So saying it with deep feeling, it's beautiful, you should. But if you miss the deep feeling, at least say it. Another example would be, let's say Mincha. Today I already prayed Mincha. I prayed at 1:20. So at 1:20 I prayed Mincha, and I was feeling it. But imagine I wasn't feeling it. Now I have till, 5:30 or something? I don't know when Shkia is, 5:45? 4:47? Yeah, they changed the clocks now, so it's 4:47 about? I have till 4:47 to say Mincha. If I'm not feeling it at 1:20, well, there's another minyan at 10 to 2. And there's a 1:20, there's a 1:20, there's a 1:25 at Aish, there's a 10 to 2 at Aish. And then I could go down the Western Wall and say it all the way till what was it, 4:47. Now, I'd prefer to keep pushing it off till I feel it. But let's say I never felt it throughout the day, and now it's 4:46. Should I blow it off? What do you say? Blow it off? Yeah, God, the world counts on it. Whole planet's counting on this.
And in a case like that, it's almost like you're further, messing up your alignment. It's like you're aiming for those potholes if you're waiting to feel and touch, and you just miss, 10, 8, 9, 10 chances.
Right. Yeah, but it's good to skip it. It's good to skip it until you feel it. But now it's 4:46. We don't have a patent on the connection with God. We can't monopolize that. Every human being in this earth can connect to God by just choosing to connect. So there could be some guy who's doing his mincha at 4:47 at the Western Wall without any connection. He's just doing it because that's the last minute to say it. And he doesn't want to mess up the planet because all the planet needs him to do it. While some other Gentile is staring at his parched cornfields in Louisiana, and a tear is dropping down his face as the moon is setting over thousands of acres of corn that's all dried up and dead. And he lets out a little prayer to God. Please, we need some rain. I got to feed my family. I got to feed this nation. Who won the connection contest? He won the connection contest. The farmer won the connection contest, and the other guy wins the alignment contest. The Jews are always going to win the alignment contest because we're the ones with all the alignments that you have to do. Gentiles have 7 alignments, but they're all so easy. They're almost like you can't even barely create a religion out of it. It's the 7 laws. Anyone here know the 7 laws of all Gentiles? You know the 7 laws? No? Should I teach them to you? They're easy to remember. Yeah. So first of all, there's 2 do's and there's 5 don't do's. Okay. How many laws altogether? 7. How many do's? 2. How many don't do's? 5. Okay. 2 and 5. The first two are very easy to remember. It's a do and a don't do. Do believe in God. Don't serve other gods. Okay? Which unfortunately eliminates having a relationship with who they believe is the Son of God, at least Christians. It would eliminate that, which is, I know, a big horse pill for Christians to swallow. But I'll tell you, I got students all over the world who are raised Christian who today have dropped it, and they are only into God. Okay? No more JC. Okay? Again, I know it's a tough pill to swallow, especially if you were raised, or shall I say brainwashed, into believing in that. By the way, I'm not teasing them. We were all brainwashed. I was brainwashed into believing that, McDonald's and MTV and every other stupid thing that threatened to rip my soul out was what's important. I also was brainwashed. But if that's what you're brainwashed into believing, it's a major horse pill to swallow, to let go of the whole Son of God thing. By the way, in fairness to Christians, I understand why they do it. I really do, and I understand that. We're all here to connect, and it's a hell of a lot easier to connect to Jesus than it is to God. We want a connection. You're going to go for the hardest one, or you're going to go for the easier one? The hardest one, you may feel connected, but I would say the number one complaint I get, especially in your town, number one complaint I get is, Rabbi, I've been doing X, Y, and Z for 10 years now. What are those, X, Y's, and Z's? They're probably commandments. I've been doing the alignment for 10 years now, and I'll tell you the truth, Rabbi, I don't feel a thing. I don't feel a thing. You know what I tell those guys? I say, you got to come spend a week with me in Israel. Upstairs, we have a center called the Executive Learning Center. You just come spend a week with me, you travel with me, you go up to the mountains with me, you go surfing with me, you spend a week together, and we're gonna get you the connection. Yeah?
Does that mean that a Gentile who's praying in Christian format has no connection? Is a false connection?
No, they have. Oh, what's the connection?
No, do they have any connection?
Yeah, it's a forbidden connection. It's a total connection. Total connection.
Oh,
You will never convince them they aren't connected, because they are connected.
But not to God.
It's a forbidden connection. Well, there's other things even stronger than JC to connect to, believe me. Yeah, there's things that you can get connected to that you will feel connected. Yeah? And it's absolutely forbidden. Absolutely forbidden. God, if it wasn't a big deal, God, if it wasn't something that you really connect to, it wouldn't require a commandment, would it? I mean, this hit the top 10 list. It's in the top 10 commandments, the 10 commandments. First commandment, believe in God. Second commandment, don't serve any others.
So in other words, those prayers are wasted. Is that correct?
I don't even know what that would mean. Prayers are wasted.
If you pray, it's not a
Yeah.
wasted prayer. You get answered, you don't have to answer, but you're davening in the correct format. So a non-Jew who's davening in the Christian format,
Yeah.
it's like a nothing prayer, is that right? Like praying to the moon.
Well, it may work. When Native Americans do rain dances, it starts raining a lot of the time. Yeah, so it may work. Reward for that prayer? No reward. Punishment for that prayer? Maybe. Maybe punishment. I don't believe Indians will be punished for rain dances because they never had enough knowledge of Sinai to know that you're not allowed to do rain dances. You got to pray to God for your rain. Now, by the way, I believe God would sanction the dance. I think he would. How do I know? Because Kabbalists have their own rain rituals. They're doing all their prayers to God, and they're taking the Sinaitic, Sinai-ish, not Sinai-ish, but the Sinaitic instructions of Kabbalah how to bring rain. But in the end, it's quite a bit of a rain dance. So the point is, though, they're going to the CEO of the bank, not to the teller, not to the bank teller. Okay? So just doing a rain dance, you're going straight to the teller. Praying to JC and getting answered, you're going to the teller. You're going to the bank teller. And the second commandment is you're not allowed to go to the teller. Prayers go to God. And you better have a very pure tradition of any kind of rain dances you start getting involved in, which is the Kabbalistic traditions, a very pure tradition of how to get what you want if you're going to be doing stuff like that. I don't do that kind of stuff. If God doesn't grant it, I stay out of it. I let God know what I want. I let him know what my will is. Comes through, it comes through. Doesn't come through. I don't start getting involved in all the Kabbalistic, using special names of God. And I've tried it before. And there's been I've had a few crises in life where I tried it and didn't get anywhere either. I just basically wasted my money trying to get people to do stuff who know how to do stuff. And it wasn't very expensive, but whatever. I tried to get some stuff done, just figuring I wanted to be able to face God upstairs, and that I tried everything. So I've done a few Kabbalistic moves that I never went back to it though, and it didn't work anyway. Didn't work. The crisis I was in was someone was making a really poor choice, who's very close to me, and so I just wanted to be able to say upstairs that I did my part. When I get up there, I tried to stop it. But I learned something amazing. This is a separate subject, but I learned something amazing, that when free will's involved, you can jump and scream, doesn't matter. If someone's making a choice, it's much more powerful than anything else. I mean, after all, 6 million Jews perished for free will. That he'd rather have the Nazis use their free will wrong, meaning have them misuse free will, than take it away and save all those, not just Jews, everyone. I don't know, 20 million people perished at the hands of the Nazis and the whole war altogether. I forget what the number of World War II, but it was massive, all from free will. God's crazy about free will, and therefore I've learned that if someone's making a choice, yeah, you can do your part, you can pray they make some other choice, doesn't matter though, because choice is more powerful. Some idiot's choice who doesn't even have any information to make a proper choice, but he's making a choice. That choice he makes is more powerful than anything you can do. Free will is paramount. It's more important than anything. The Kabbalistic stuff's a little more helpful when there's no choice involved, like, for example, bringing rain. It's not a choice someone's making. Yeah, so I was telling you the 7 Noahide laws. So they're all from the generation of Noah, by the way. This is what everyone had to keep in the times of Noah. It's humanity's laws, the laws of humanity. The Jews have 613 laws. That's all the alignments. And the Gentiles have these 7, and these are more maintenance laws to make sure society doesn't totally unravel. That's the point. The 7 laws aren't to really connect them to God. The 7 laws are to keep society from unraveling. That's all. As far as their connection, that's an individual choice. Every individual can choose to connect. So the first was to believe in God, and the second one, I just want to mention, Jews aren't allowed to just believe in God. If a Jew believes in God, according to the Rambam, you will get no reward in your belief. Only Gentiles are allowed to believe in God. Jews have to know. Which is like crazy, but Jews are not allowed to believe in God. It's not enough. You did not fulfill the first commandment with your belief. You have to investigate. You have to get to some critical threshold of evidence. You don't have to get perfect evidence. No one's going to get perfect evidence. How are you going to, you can't DNA God like you can your mom or something to make sure it's really your mom. But I don't think anyone in here has a doubt their mom's their mom. Without the DNA swab. That's what I'm saying. You have to get to some threshold. So, but to just go with blind faith that there's God, without even the most basic, like Rambam's first cause proof, that's enough. Something had to cause the world. There, you did it. You're fulfilling the commandment. First cause is enough. As long as you have some proof that there's a God, you can fulfill the commandment of knowing there's a God. Gentiles, they're allowed to believe in God, blind faith. They don't have to know anything. They don't have to study it. They don't have to investigate it. They don't need evidence, nothing. Believe in God, you're in. That's all. So number 1, believe in God. Number 2, no other gods. You can't believe in it. You can't do anything else. Like no reverence, no giving, no venerating any other power, even though they may work, those powers. And now, the big 3. What are the big 3? Don't steal, don't kill, and don't commit adultery. Steal, murder, adultery. Did I say kill? Oh, you're being very specific. Steal, murder, adultery. Got those? Okay, those are called the big three: steal, murder, adultery. Big three. They're really not the big three. Two are the big three. Two of them are of the big three, which is to kill and adultery. The other one of the big three was the other big three, idolatry. Yeah. Meaning there's three things a Jew has to die for. All the commandments, the Torah is to live. But there's three things a Jew must die for. Idolatry, and that's why you imagine before a Jew can believe in JC, he'd have to take a bullet. Meaning before he would do anything for any other tradition or any other idolatry, that he would have to take a bullet. Adultery, and when I say adultery, it's any of the 37 forbidden sexual unions. Okay? Aim, Eshazav, Achos, Bas, Eshazav, Bas, Ben, Bas, Uvita, Vesvina, Vasvita, Achoseim, Achosav, Achoseim, Eshazav, Eshazav, I should have done to the rhythm. Anyway, I know all 37 in a rap. These are the 37. Aim, Eshazav, Achos, Bas, Eshazav, Bas, Ben, Bas, Uvita, Vasvina, Vasvita, Achoseim, Achosav, Eshazav, Achayav, Eshez Ben, Eshazav, Achos Ishto Imbema Leah Zacharav Achayav Esha Nida Goyim Amoni Mitzri Edomi Mamzu Saris Lisares Amanan Nisuin Besulaz Gurusha Zona Halala Yivkrav. 37 commandments of forbidden sexual relationship. So that's the other one. Okay, so back to the 7 commandments of the nations. Keep the 7, go to heaven. Yeah? Believe in God. No other gods. What was it? Steal, murder, adultery. Okay, how many left? That's 5. What are the last 2? Cruelty to animals. You're not allowed to be cruel to animals. Okay. And number 7 is to set up courts of justice. There has to be that human beings have protection by the law. Can't have dog eat dog out there. Every individual has to be protected by the law with courts of justice. Okay, you guys got the 7?
A friend of mine told me, a rabbi told me that Gentiles should actually be eating kosher meat because when they stun them, they're not necessarily dead when they eviscerate them. So they could be contravening that.
Oh, right. Uh-huh. Interesting. Well, that would certainly make our kosher meat a lot cheaper.
Yes.
We pay a lot for that kosher meat. All right. Back to our business. So you got alignment and connection, and what happens is people often feel that because they have alignment, they have connection. How many of us have met self-righteous Jews, and they may have the black hat on, nice and tight, and they look the part, and they got it all, and they know all their laws, they dot their I's, they cross their T's in alignment. But have you ever met people like that and you don't get any feeling of connectivity, like they're not connected? You don't get that it's not a holy man. You know what I'm talking about? You don't get a sense of their holiness, their sanctity, their connection to God. Many you do, but there's many you don't. And meanwhile, this guy could go his whole life thinking he's connected when in fact, he's just doing the alignments. He's involved in alignment, but not involved in connection. Clear? You'll also meet, once in a while, these kind of hippie Jews who are totally ignoring the actual laws. They do their best, they try to keep the laws, but they're just like, I love the Lord, they're just like singing and dancing, they're so connected. They're connected, but they're totally out of alignment. Now, for a Gentile, that's fine. But for a Jew to be totally out of alignment, it'd be a good example of that? Good example of that is, imagine if I started ignoring all the do's and don'ts of my marriage. When you're married, there's do's and don'ts. Okay, there's things my wife loves and there's things she doesn't like. There's things I love and there's things I don't like. Now imagine I'm always professing my love to her while totally ignoring the do's and don'ts. So when I bring her flowers, I bring her orange carnations. She doesn't want carnations, she doesn't want orange. She doesn't like orange flowers. But I bring her the orange flower carnation. Here's a bouquet of carnations. The other thing is I'm in charge of the garbage. I'm not going to have my little lady taking out these big bags of garbage. I take out the garbage. What if I ignored that one? Yeah, just totally ignore it. Yeah, and I can mention, what if I kept the toilet seat up all the time in the bathroom? Something every newly married man has to quickly learn is to, put down the toilet seat, when you're done, so that your wife doesn't suddenly get a cold sensation. And that's if you aimed well. Okay, these are all little alignments. Oh, but I tell her how much I love her while totally ignoring her. What if I didn't call when I was late? What if I was perpetually late and not calling? So, what is that loving connection that I profess? What is it? What? What is it? What is that connection I keep talking about? I keep telling her how much I love her and we're so connected. Yeah, it's just cheap. Cheap words, empty words. Because when you love someone, you honor their do's and don'ts. When you're connected to someone, you do their do's and don'ts. So to profess connection with God while ignoring God's will. This is why I believe Gentiles are actually more connected than Jews. They're more connected. They connect to God, and there's not much they can do wrong, is there? When's the last time you met a Gentile like being cruel to animals? As long as they're not serving idols, they're basically connected. A Jew can disconnect his or herself inadvertently in 1 week more than a Gentile could in his lifetime. There are so many things we could do wrong, even by accident, in a matter of hours. How many mistakes you can make. Put it over a week, forget it. I mean, why do you think we have a full reset every Yom Kippur? The rest of the world doesn't. Everyone else has to die to get a reset. Everyone else gets the end of their life and it's Judgment Day. We get once a year, full factory reset. Yeah, we go right back to our factory settings. Why? Because the world, 1 week after Yom Kippur, everyone's made so many crazy mistakes. Okay, maybe not here in Jerusalem, maybe you're in Jerusalem, but a couple months later you've already got quite a record. But in our circles over here, if we do something wrong, if we blow it, it's usually a mistake, but if you blew it, like you missed Shema, you didn't say Shema at the right time. So what do we do before we go to bed that night? We own it. We do the 4 steps, okay? And the 4 steps are, in this case, you don't need step 1, which is to stop. There's stop, say, regret, commit. Stop, say, regret, commit. Stop, how can you stop? You already missed Shema, so there's nothing to stop. Say, God, I missed Shema. I'm owning this. I'm not blaming, I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not going to blame my wife for asking me to go do something right when it was time to say Shema. No pointing finger. I missed Shema. I'm pointing the fingers here. Okay? I regret it. If you gave it to me over again, I would have said, honey, I'll do it. Just let me say Shema. Shema. Yeah, and that's it. And then go do it. And commit. I'm committed for the rest of my life to say Shema on time. Am I possibly going to blow it later? Maybe. But at least I can clean my slate now. I can at least get rid of the scar tissue of having said it. Before it's scar tissue, meaning while the wound is fresh. I can put some ointment on it.
Is there a certain time to say it exactly?
Say what, Shema?
Yeah.
For men are obligated. Women do not have to do time-bound positive commandments. There is a positive commandment to say Shema twice daily, once at night and once in the morning rising hours, which are the first 3 hours of the day. Okay, so depending when sunrise is, will be the 3rd hour. Right now it's 8:39, was it? You checked it? Yeah. It's 8:39, okay. 8:39. So a woman can say Shema whenever she wants because she's not obligated to say Shema by a specific time. She doesn't have to say it at all. I suggest she does, though, because that's the... Yeah, I suggest Gentiles say Shema. I think everyone should say Shema.
Is that because women are more naturally aligned?
And that's one of the reasons. When you really go into the deep Kabbalah, you start realizing that women actually have their own clock. And they're like totally aligned with time and stuff. They don't need the time-bound commandments. They're already connected. That's one thing. The other thing is they're more connected in general. Meaning a man needs Shema. A woman has Shema. She doesn't need to say it. You know, it'd be like hugging one's spouse without saying the words "I love you," or not even hugging, just looking into their eyes and giving them that message. So it's already there, whereas a man may need to say it. You know. So the men have to do the time-bound commandments. Another time-bound commandment is that tefillin, the black boxes we wear. Women have no obligation to wear them. They're not obligated in that. Meaning what a tefillin would do for me, it will not do that for my wife. She's already complete with her tefillin. She doesn't need tefillin. She probably already lived a life as a man anyway. And we live many lives, and one of those lives, many of those lives were different genders, different times. You could even be born you could be born a woman, you could be born a man, you could be born a Gentile, you could be born a Jew, you could be born all kinds of options. Born an animal? That ain't pretty. I've had some serious animal stories. I get all this stuff comes to me. Everyone's always bringing me their cases. And, yeah.
Okay, a non-Jew can reincarnate as a Jew and like vice versa?
Sure. Yeah. Probably every Gentile you've met who converted to Judaism was a Jewish soul at one point or another. Yeah. Real converts. We're not talking about people who are trying to get married to a Jew so they convert. These real truth-seeking ones who want to throw it all to the wind and become a Jew. Yeah. Even if the Nazis are next door, banging on the doors, door to door they're going. And you're the one building over and this person's like, I want to be a Jew. But the Nazis are next door, you out of your mind? I want to live as a Jew, I want to die as a Jew. That's those kind of converts. Okay, now, regarding connection and alignment, so we have to get it that we could easily confuse and think we're there when we're not there. And therefore we have to work on both. Every one of us has to bump up our game in our knowledge of law in Judaism and our fulfillment of those laws. We all have to bump up our game to get more and more aligned, which means constant study, because we're talking about 55,000 laws. Every single commandment of the Torah is really just a hyperlink. When you click on that commandment, it takes you to a website that you can just tape down the scroll button of law after law after law after law after law of how to fulfill that commandment, because the Torah doesn't give you any instructions. For example, who mentioned kosher slaughter? Was that Richard? So you mentioned kosher slaughter. So do you know what the commandment is in the Torah for kosher slaughter? It says, you must slaughter the animal according to my instructions. In Hebrew, that's ka'asher tziviticha, according to how I've instructed you. Okay, so you got your cow, you got your knife. Doesn't mention a knife, but at least mentions a cow. So, it's talking about slaughter. So it says, ka'asher tziviticha. Okay, hold still, Bessie. According to God's instructions. Let's see here. No instructions there. No instructions there. No. Instruction. There are no instructions in the entire Torah. It has a line that says it's according to my instruction, yet it doesn't give any instructions. Did you know that? Do you know there's no instructions about how to slaughter? All it says is follow my instructions. What does that tell you? That there must be instructions that are not written, otherwise known as the oral law, which goes into a lot of instructions. It's actually in a tractate called Chulin. And in the tractate of Chulin, it has a chapter completely dedicated to it, and you can actually become an ordained ritual slaughterer. And you, in fact, in order to slaughter, one has to be ordained, not to slaughter your own meat, but once you're slaughtering for any store or any, community or anything, you need to be ordained as a ritual slaughterer, which means you've studied all this it's pure rocket science, all this stuff, the laws of slaughter and stuff, and you really got to know a lot of anatomy, an incredible amount of anatomy, because you think it's over once you slaughter it. No, there's permitted parts of the animal, forbidden parts of the animal, Torah forbidden, rabbinically forbidden parts of the animal. You got to know your stuff. You got to have incredible foundations in anatomy to be able to produce kosher meat.
Also varies from the type of animal.
What's that?
Also varies between birds and what type
Sure, yeah, which type of animal you're dealing with. Anyway, so that alignment, those 55,000 laws of the Torah, we need to really get clear on. We got to study it all the time, and we have to really know it.